He must be the unofficial or the official representative of the staff. So
Let me know
But
when you
wait,
post it, Jason, and
I
I'll
just-
share it.
do they think you have some inside information you're not sharing? My God, people.
Everybody's just scared and panicked about
Yeah.
everything.
This is life.
but I mean, they ask, like I had somebody ask me about cabaret. Well, we haven't heard anything about cabaret. Is it still on? Is it canceled?
What do you think?
That's what I want to say, but
Well,
I
it's
just
like-
reply and say, we're working on it. And then a half hour later, Sharon comes, she goes, should we just cancel? I said, do you want to? Yeah, let's cancel.
See, the problem is, if there's no school, the music people are gonna
Stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, we'll go ahead and call the meeting to order. We have an agenda with some discussion items. Do I have a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
Thank you, Joel. Second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Luenga. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Public communications? There are none. Conflicts disclosure? There are none. All right, discussion. So item number 5, the reason why we're having this meeting tonight, Jim and I have been in contact over the past week since our last meeting. Jim, jump in if I'm wrong here on anything, but Jim and I spoke last Friday. I think it was around 10:30. Jim had a plan on going forward with school. You know, we haven't had any really major issues here at that point in time. I thought he had a very good plan to pivot if necessary to close the school down. You know, we've closed school down in the middle of the day because of snowstorms. He and I spoke probably for about half an hour and said it was good to go. And I think it was my understanding from talking to Jim later, at about an hour later when he was getting ready to make the announcement to everybody, the governor came on and said we're shutting the schools down for a week. Jim got back in touch with me, asked if we needed to have another meeting. I said let's wait and see where we're at. Jim went over his initial plan as to how to handle everything with the staff and the students. Since that time, we've spoke on a couple occasions, and specifically we thought we'd wait till after the governor spoke again yesterday at 3 o'clock. And then after she spoke yesterday, I thought it was a good idea to get together today so we can kind of start planning based upon the understanding that we will definitely be out of school for next week and planning on where we go from there. Jim, I'll tell you what, is that kind of a fair synopsis of where we're at?
Yes, yes.
So I'll turn it over to you to just kind of, we'll start with the discussion items with you, if that's all right, Jim.
Sure. First and foremost, we have to remember that this is a fluid situation, and I've tried to remind our staff of that description, I guess. You know, it's my goal to have a consistent plan when we can. Originally, I had our staff coming in on Monday, Tuesday, and Friday of this week, and everything went as planned until Tuesday, and our in-service got canceled on Friday because we couldn't have more than 10 people in a particular room or a gathering. So then I asked my staff to come Wednesday because I thought we would do some planning for some things, and we had some concerns that were shared, and just through the evening I had enough concerns shared that I contacted Tom last night and said, you know, should we really be in school tomorrow? And we just decided not to have it today with the staff. So our staff was not here today. They were here Monday and Tuesday. And part of the decisions that we need to make tonight is whether we will have staff in the building, what capacity, what do we have for expectations for them. And again, it's my hope to make a consistent plan and give a consistent plan to folks. But because it's such a fluid situation, that could change tomorrow. It could change 3 days from now. And so I'm just asking folks to be flexible. We need to be compassionate about the whole situation from all aspects, because this is affecting a lot, well, it's affecting everybody in essence. And then we have to have some patience with each other, with the process, with the information. So I think those are all important things to mention before we really get too far into the discussion. With the discussion items, I have provided you each with basically this is just an outline of the things that I can think of at this particular time. I did have Mrs. Miller and Mr. Case look at it, give me any thoughts of, you know, this is going to cause a panic. Maybe we don't want to have too much discussion on that versus, hey, we forgot this, or can you remind us of that? And so I think it's as thorough as we can come up with right now. During the course of this meeting, I'm sure there might be some things that come up. So if there are questions as we're going, feel free to jump in and ask it, and I'll try to answer the best that I can if I've got an answer for that particular item. Our staffing expectations, I have expectations and compensation. One of the things that has been brought to my attention on a regular basis, quite frequently, is what do we have for expectations for our staff? And I broke it down into different groups. We have our hourly staff, which includes kitchen, custodial, office staff, and paraprofessionals. Now typically when we have a snow day where we start late, our paraprofessionals lose a couple hours, and they don't always get to make that up. So in some cases like this, those folks lose money, and that's a question we have to answer tonight. What are we going to do with their pay? Same thing with the custodians. Do we need them in the building on a regular basis? My hope is that they will come in and take care of the routine things that need to be taken care of on a regular basis. For instance, if we got to check the boiler every day, come in and check the boiler. If they're here for as long as we need to do that, and that's what we decide, then we go forward with that. Contracted staff members, that basically affects your teachers and your administration. There's a little bit of a debate at the state level as to what we can do with federal fund, people that are paid by federal funds, and it sounds like the state has got an answer for that, or they're working on an answer for that. So I don't think that's going to be a huge debate for us with respect to those that get paid out of special ed or title. So I don't think that's going to be an issue. And then I moved into the expectations. You know what? I didn't list the students, did I? I was going to put the students on here, but that's obvious what we want the students to do. The expectations that I have here, I have expectations, documentations, and assurances. If we want to count the days that we are out this particular week, if we want to count them, we have to assure, and Tom Sanis and I have to sign a form that says we assure that our district has met these goals. It's communication with the students. How are we getting materials back and forth with the students? What expectations do we have for assignments and work? How are we going to grade those assignments and assess the students so that there's some sort of accountability for the students? And the fifth item is, what are we doing with our special ed students and our EL students? If we as a district choose to continue to an educational process at home via distance learning with our general ed students, we have to do the same for EL and for special ed. We can't just say, you know what, there's no way to do special ed services, so we're not going to do it. We can't do that. We have to figure out a way to do them, either via distance learning, Mojo or Dojo or Skype, or however we can figure out how to do those, we're going to. One of the concerns that we have with special needs students is some of them have compromised immune systems. And the state and the federal government is already looking at the limitations that may exist with that, because the last thing we want to do is provide an opportunity for a spread of the virus to those that have compromised. And so I think there's going to be some limitations with some of our special ed students. These are the expectations that I've written down for the teachers, and these are suggestions. A lot of these ideas have come from the superintendent's. It's not a listserv, we're just using email, but we've been emailing. I mean, everybody's just replying to everybody, so I must have probably read through 700 emails just from superintendents alone since Friday. Teachers could be available via phone or other media for a specific time every day that's a school day. And I just put in here just for example, 9 to 3. Doesn't have to be 9 to 3, but maybe that's an example. What does that mean? That means if a student wanted to call the teacher, maybe they could call them. If they wanted to text, they could text. If they're using Dojo, and Dojo is a media that they use in the elementary, if you didn't know what that was. I don't know how to use it. It's just a fancy word for me. If they're using that, if they're using Skype, there's several means for them to communicate. Be available to assist students if they have questions. My expectations of all of our teachers, regardless of their subject area, Obviously, some subject areas are going to be easier than others. Our secondary teachers who are teaching the core courses probably are the most prepared for this because they're already using Google Classroom for the majority of their assignments and work. It's a big challenge for our elementary teachers. Number one, you have young students who are not well-versed in independent learning. I mean, you can't expect kindergartners and first graders to really, read this and do that, because they're used to a lot of instructions. So it's a challenge for the elementary. Some of our hands-on classes, your FACS classes where you might be cooking, welding, obviously there's going to be an effect on the hands-on part of those classes. But it's not impossible to teach those courses as well. We can still move with those courses. But my expectations is that each of our staff members is a professional teacher and does the best that they can. I do not have expectations that are way up here so that our kids are just going to knock it out of the park on the Smarter Balanced Assessment if we actually test them on it. My expectations are that we do the best that we can with the means and resources that we have. Provide a meaningful instruction and materials for the students for each day. And that material can be provided at the beginning of the week, for the whole week. If you want to contact them on a daily basis, that's up to the teacher. I just want them providing some meaningful instruction and materials for what we would normally do the best that we can. I think our teachers need to start with what they know they can handle when it comes to the means that they're doing this. I really don't think it's a good idea for our teachers to take on learning, the distance learning process through the Infinite Campus. They're providing it to us for free. Now that's not to say that I don't want teachers looking at that, but I really don't think this is the time to learn a new system. That might inhibit us more than help us. As we get comfortable with this, because I do believe this is going to be more than just another week, as we get comfortable with this, they learn about other things from other teachers, from other districts. Then they can kind of work their way out a little bit farther to try other means that might be more effective than what we're currently using. But I want them to be confident in what they're able to do right now. I want the staff communicating with students and parents regularly. And then I would like them, because I have to put my name on an assurance that says that we're taking care of all this stuff. And I don't think anybody's going to audit us. They said that the form that we have to fill out is not a form to attain approval. It's basically saying that you as a district and your administrator and your board president believe that you are offering some effective educational options for students that we believe we can count these as school days. And so with that, I would like some documentation from my teachers. I think it's a good thing to do regardless if we have to show proof of anything. I just think it's good for them to document what they're doing, how long they're working, the things that they're completing, the responses they're getting from the kids, the types of challenges they're maybe facing with this. I think all of that could be good stuff. Now, they don't need to put down a War and Peace document. I just want basic things as to what they're doing on a daily basis to communicate, instruct, and assess the students. And I do have a template that was shared. I think it was the superintendent from Lake Preston. I asked him if I could get the template. He sent it within seconds. So I will share that with our staff, just so they can see that it's something easy to just document. I think it's very important to talk about the responsibility of parents. Boy, if there's one thing I hope that comes out of this that's good, is that our parents will realize how valuable teachers are and the challenges that teachers have in teaching children. Because now it's kind of put on their shoulders to make sure that the instruction does occur at home. Now, we're not asking teachers or parents to get up and actually teach their children, but they're going to have to monitor this in order for this to be successful. They're going to have to sit down with little Johnny and say, okay, what do you have for work? What did she send for? Do you have to watch any videos? Do you need to read anything? The parents are going to have to become very active in this to make this successful. And I want them to assist their children the best that they are able to. If they can't do the math, that doesn't mean their child isn't going to be able to do the math. there should be some things that they can complete. I want the parents to ensure that their children do the work that they're supposed to, seek out the assistance that they need to from the teachers, and that they communicate with the teachers regularly, and ensure that that work gets back to the teachers. We've talked about whether or not we're going to actually pass hard copies back and forth and have an exchange system. I don't know if that's a good thing to do. We're told that this virus can last on hard surfaces for up to 12 hours. Some cases I've heard that it could be days. So perhaps exchanging a lot of hard copy materials maybe isn't the best situation. One of the easiest things I think that some parents could do if they have a smartphone is they can actually take a photo of the completed work and beam that to the teachers. I don't know if that's the best way to do it, but that might be the only way in some cases. And then to the students, I didn't put the students on this particular sheet, but obviously the students are going to have some responsibility. And we're going to see all ends of the spectrum. We're going to see some students that perhaps aren't even doing any homework yet this week, and come Friday when they know it's the end of the week, they're like, oh, I better do some homework. You might have some that are stressed and they probably completed half the work by Sunday evening of last weekend when they got it all on Friday. That's possible too. I think we need to be mindful of the stress that comes along with this with everybody. Parents are going to be stressed, teachers are going to be stressed, students will be stressed. We have to show some compassion and some patience for all of this entire process. Activities I've listed, I'll go through these because I think for the folks at home that are listening to this, they probably will like to know these things. And we will get a message out that kind of summarizes a lot of these. Most everything's been postponed or canceled. If we have something that's been scheduled and it's during school and we're not in school, obviously it's not going to occur on that particular day if it's something that's currently scheduled. Our cabaret concert and meal, we've canceled that. We're not going to go forward with it. It's scheduled for next Tuesday. There's no way we're going to be prepared. If we move it, it's probably going to conflict with our concerts if we're able to have concerts later on. So we just, the music folks and I just felt that it was probably best to cancel the cabaret. All athletics are postponed until we get notice from DOE or from the High School Activities Association, and we're not allowing any practices. We're not allowing any open gyms, weightlifting, or anything like that. Now, folks that are in track, if they want to go and run up and down the streets on their own, we can't do anything about that, but we cannot allow any organized practices. It goes against what we're trying to do with the spread of this virus. The Lion King musical, we've postponed that to fall of 2020. We have the performance rights for 1 calendar year, so they're good through December. Mrs. Edelmore thought that it would probably be best to just reconvene and practice in the fall and have that performance in the fall. The students that are all involved with it will move up 1 grade level by next year, but they're all going to fit within the age group that was involved anyway. I don't believe there were any 8th graders that were involved, which would be freshmen next year, so I think we're going to be okay there. Prom has been postponed to May 9th. There are other schools that have already chosen to cancel their prom. There's some that are postponing like we are. That one's going to be, who knows what happens as time goes by. Our concerts are to be determined. Obviously, if we're in school, we can maybe look at it. Academic awards, baccalaureate, those are to be determined. Graduation is one that we have a lot of folks, and it's usually the parents of the seniors that are wondering, what is happening? What are we going to do? We truly hope to be able to have graduation on May 17th, and right now that's still our plan. It could change. We just don't want to cause a panic that we're going to postpone it or cancel it this early. So we're going to hang on to that one as long as we can so that people can plan that it's going to happen. With that, who knows what will happen. If we're not allowed to have a large crowd at that particular time, we just have to think outside the box and figure out the best experience that we can provide those kids with that particular ceremony. And so we'll see what happens with that. The music trip to Nashville is to be determined yet. They have not yet heard from that particular transportation company or trip company as to what's happening. I don't know if it's going to happen. We'll see. And the World's Classroom Washington DC trip, that affects, I think, 8th grade and 9th grade students. That has already been postponed to 2021, so it's going to move a year later. And then the only other thing I have on here then is driver's education. To be determined. It's very possible if we can't have school and we can't have driver's ed like we would typically have it, it's very possible that we could do it virtually for the classroom part. And then if everybody that needs to drive is not a confirmed case of this virus, it's very possible that we could go forward with that. We'll think out of the box with that one. There's a handful of other activities, FFA, banquet, FCCLA, state FFA, all kinds of other activities, the jogathon in the elementary. Obviously, if we're not in school and those are currently scheduled, we're not having those days. We'll address it if and when we do come back to school. That's what I have for notes. Beyond that, do you have any questions or anything that you have for additions before we start a really in-depth discussion?
Do meals play into anything?
Good question. We can provide meals, and we can provide meals to every student if we wish to. One thing that's happened, and there were some schools that were, they had a great idea, but the idea's kind of taken a downturn, mainly because of you have to have manpower to prep the meals. You have to have manpower to either distribute them or have them at a pickup location. And if we're not going to have staff in the building regularly, or can't have staff in the building because there might be some cases that occur in our area, I don't know how we can feasibly do it. But it is available, and some schools are doing that right now. But I know that one of the schools had a great idea, and the process is starting to not fall apart, but the process isn't quite working as well as they thought it would, mainly because they don't believe they're going to continue to have their staff in the building as a large group to prepare and distribute.
So there's not a requirement?
There's no requirement that we feed children, no. I believe there's an obligation to consider, and if we can.
I think we need to consider it, yeah.
Yes.
We
And that's
do
what
have-
most schools are looking at.
The state does have an application through the food service program. We have gone through that process. We are approved. So if we decide to move forward, we did have a plan all in place, but then, things changed after the governor's last message. So we are approved if we decide to move forward with that.
The plan that was in place really did involve our kitchen staff helping prepare, others assisting those to get the meals prepared, our paras and our teachers getting them ready, organized, and put into vehicles, and having teachers and or paras actually deliver, or even utilizing our transportation company to deliver them. But it can't happen if we don't have a core team and a sizable one. And I don't want to say that it can't happen, but it's going to be, how will it happen if we don't have the means to do it with manpower?
Jim, my question was, and you kind of answered the question after I'd already written it down, talking about what was expected of the teachers. It's very early in, and we've all been part and seen our kids, and to me, there's been some very good communication from some of the teachers on what to do, and maybe some little lacking. With what you're looking at, will you personally, or will it be you three, looking at the teachers as far as each individually? I mean, there's 40 plus teachers and hundreds of classes. Will you just kind of each individually be checking each teacher in the classes to make sure that they're divvying out to the students and, I mean, one-on-one stuff, what they're to be doing?
Actually, one other item that I would like our teachers to provide, and Mr. Case doesn't even know this because I didn't discuss with him yet today, I would like to have some lesson plans. I would like to know what it is you're sharing with the students, so that we have some verification and some documentation. It's not to make extra work for the staff, which it shouldn't be. They should be able to quickly jot down what it is they're planning for this class on Monday, this class on Tuesday, and so on and so forth.
Yes.
So that's one of the justifications. The other thing that we can do is we can ask, and I'm sure we will hear from parents, if parents believe that perhaps we're not really doing much to challenge kids, we're gonna hear it. And we'll probably also hear the other side of the spectrum is that, hey, my kid can't do this without somebody instructing him. We'll probably hear that as well. So we'll address any issues that might come up as they come up.
And what is the last thing that my question, and I'm not a big social guy as far as how they communicate with, I know a couple of different things you said, but if a kid has a math question where they need to explain, I mean, is there ways when they can physically talk to the teacher and have them walk them through or show them how to do it?
Yes, they can use Skype if the students have a state email, our teachers can set up a Skype meeting with them. What that is you, instead of setting up a regular appointment in your calendar, they can actually click on set up a Skype meeting, and it will put in the email to those students. And you can do multiple students at one time. If you want to do 14 students and send that email to 14, it will have a Skype link at the bottom. Those kids click on that Skype link and it's live.
Okay.
Martin and I did one of the interviews with our guidance counselor applicants. We did it via Skype. Worked very effectively, wouldn't you say?
Yes.
I mean, it's obviously not as good as being in person.
Right, but
There's-
But we were I was confident in it.
There's also a lot of teachers that like to put stuff out there for the whole world. I mean, if you go to Google and just type in YouTube and then manipulating variables, there's going to be all kinds of teachers that have put stuff out there that explain the concepts. And, I hope that they realize that there's other resources besides just their teacher. And it's a great way to hear a different version of the same thing. So, there's other things they can do as well.
The resources that are coming out every day are phenomenal. And there's a whole library being built that will be released soon of extra resources, but Google Hangouts is one I heard today that I hadn't thought of. And there's somebody in Clear Lake, I think, that at 10 a.m. every morning, she meets her kids in the Google Hangout and they have class. And, so there's all kinds of things happening.
So-
And something similar to Skype is Zoom, so some of our teachers are using Zoom also to speak to the kids, and they can have interaction back.
Is that good to have all of these different platforms, or should we be trying to narrow it down to one or two platforms so people get used to a certain thing? I don't know.
I think it's good because then the teacher can be, whatever they're familiar with, then they can use that platform.
And
Okay.
they're all very user-friendly. It's like, here's your link, click on this to join class. So
Okay.
it's not like they have to log in and create a password and do all of that stuff.
Okay.
Zoom is being utilized, I think, quite a bit in the special ed area
Right.
to provide, the services, like speech pathologists can do speech services via that Zoom. You could do it with Skype as well, but
Right.
Do we have resources available, and I'm thinking more at the elementary level now, that, if people at home don't have an iPad or a laptop, I mean, do we have resources available here at the school to get to these students that
Well-
need the technology?
what we did, we met with the elementary staff last Wednesday and the secondary staff last Thursday, and I really did not anticipate this happening for like 2 weeks. Thank goodness we did at least that. We shell shocked them a little bit, but it was better than doing that than not doing anything else. One of the things that we did ask the staff to do that Wednesday and Thursday was survey your students and find out who does not have a smartphone at home, who does not have internet, who does not have email. We do have some parents in our district that do not have email.
Yep.
It's just part of life.
Yep.
And with that, that's where we were mainly in the elementary, that's where we're deciding, okay, what are we gonna do for resources, instructional materials for these types of children? And to be quite honest, we have to do something with physical stuff. So Friday, we were able to get a good portion of the materials done, so packets basically went home for the elementary staff. Our challenge is gonna be, what do we do with those kids in the future? The big AT&T, Midco, I wanna say there's a third one, they are all offering free internet.
Infinity.
I think in Infinity. And we've shared that with all of our teachers to share with the parents. And I don't know how it works. And unfortunately, even if they were able to get internet, they might not have the devices to use with it. But if we find out somebody does have free internet and didn't have a device, I mean, we can get some devices out.
We have devices that we could make
We
available.
could, yeah, we have some laptops and things in mobile
Okay.
carts and stuff. It's not gonna be, you know, it might be a machine that gets used every single day on a regular basis, so it might be a used machine, but
Yeah.
we can do that. That's gonna continue to be a challenge as to what do we do with those families that do not have those items. And we are required to make sure that we provide instructional opportunities for them.
And I don't know, do you have any way to address that yourself as a principal, or what your teachers may or may not be doing?
Yeah, I just said, keep the lines of communication open with the parents, and if we're struggling, make sure we can go to Plan B, whatever Plan B would be. And like I said, or like Dr. Block said, a lot of our elementary teachers have packets ready to go. So now we're gonna have to determine, if we go on further, what's going to happen, how we're going to exchange, or like Dr. Block said, take a picture, send it to the teacher so they can assess it.
Mm-hmm.
But, yeah, just keep the lines of communication open.
Do you see this evolving into an attendance thing for the students from home at certain times, or do you see something like that? Would that be beneficial at all?
I don't know how you would address that. To
Well-
me, it's gonna be a matter of, I believe the best thing that we can do is we provide the instructional materials, they complete the work, and we assess it the best that we can. If they finish it in a short amount of time and they have free time the rest of the day, great. If it takes them longer, that's unfortunate.
And one of the things we brought up when we were talking about bringing homework out is not daily, because we understand that parents are working during the day, the homework might have to happen at night, and so, you know, we think like more of a weekly deadline than a daily deadline is more practical.
You know, her comment just brings up one thing too. You know, using this arbitrary time of 9 to 3, I have considered, well, there's some parents that aren't home, they might be at work.
Mm-hmm.
Is little Johnny gonna go on or be willing to work on his stuff from 9 to 3? I really truly believe that our teachers are committed enough that if things aren't happening 100% during that time, and a parent does need to send a text at 5 o'clock or 7 o'clock at night, I believe our teachers are gonna do that. It's just, I want parents to be mindful that our teachers, they have their own children, they have their own families, and we can't expect them to be on call, available around the clock.
Well-
I don't think that's fair to our staff.
Let me ask you this, Jim. That actually just brings up a good point, and just thinking out loud, you know, looking for different ideas. You know, with 529 kids being sent home, we've not only changed the school, we've changed every family with all of a sudden daycare, taking care of people. If we're saying that we want to have our staff here from 9 to 3, is there something where we should consider saying, maybe there's some staff members that come in from hypothetically 3 to 9, and instead of being there from 9 to 3, maybe that helps them take care of daycare, or maybe that helps them take care of something that's going on with their spouse. And if they're here at the school from that time frame, we just say, look, if you need to contact a teacher, it may not be your perfect math teacher, but it's still a teacher that might be able to help you walk through a question. And we just have some of the staff that comes in from 3 to 9 and give the option to the staff. They have access to the building, and now we would be, they're the ones coming in and out. It's the only people that would be here, but they could be here via internet. Is that a good idea?
When you say coming in, do you mean actually into the building?
Yes.
Because one of the concerns that we've had shared with us is if we get too many staff members here, you're overload, or you're going beyond what's recommended for the amount of people that should be in any one gathering, that type of thing.
Well, I'm not
We can
recommending.
distance ourselves in the building.
You know, the nice thing right now, we have 36 full-time teachers, correct? Is that what we're at?
I think it's more than
Yes.
that.
Because it's 36, I'm pretty sure, for the staff. I mean, we're not asking the staff, even here today, we're all sitting around, you know, we're not asking for you to have staff meetings, but if the 36 teachers are coming into the classroom, and they're staying in their classroom the majority of the time, they're not congregating together, is that a bad thing? They have the access to, you know, their materials within that room, they're staying within their room, they're not coming out and having a big meeting in the gym and, you know, talking about things. I'm not trying to say they get together, but they have access to their room here. I think that, for example, a lot of places of employment, you get a lot more done when you're at work. You just have your materials there, you have your equipment there, you have all of your resources there. It's more difficult sometimes to do it from home. So I was just saying, 10 of the teachers are in here from 9 to 3 because that's when they want to be. If there's other teachers that are here from 3 to 9, maybe that gives some more, maybe there's some that come even in earlier in the morning for it. It just gives the parents, the students, and the teachers more options. Because I do believe, and I think we should get to the macro. We got to decide what we're going to do and give the guidance to the administration. I do believe we should plan for the worst, hope for the best. I would rather be over-prepared than under-prepared. I mean, I think any of us would be kidding ourselves if we think this is just magically going to disappear in 7 days, in 7 school days. I mean, I think it's a fair question. What if we don't go back to school this year?
I think we have to plan on that.
That's the way I think we should be planning, rather than being surprised saying, oh, we're now 2 weeks in, 3 weeks in. I'd rather have us say, this is the way we planned it out, great, we came back, we didn't have to utilize it. But that's plan for the worst, hope for the best.
Jim, in talking to the other supers, has it come up what the other superintendents and other schools are thinking as far as staffing during this time? Does it
Yes.
vary a lot?
And I don't want to say the majority, but right now, the majority has had staff members in the buildings this week. But it appears that that's going to dissipate, meaning next week, they don't plan to have their teachers in. They may have to come in certain times and probably stagger it with staff so that they don't have too large of a group come in for preparing other things, distributing other things, and some have said we're not doing it all. Clark is an example. They took all snow days this week, so their teachers have not been in their building this week, but they will be in Monday and Tuesday. That's their plan. And there are some that are distributing lunches and doing that. I don't know how well that will go once there are confirmed cases in their area, because even going to somebody's doorstep and having an interaction at the door, I suppose could potentially put you in a situation.
Is there any indication of testing, any of that might happen in the school?
Testing?
Yes.
I think there's no testing, they're out testing.
We're talking if school doesn't take place again.
Oh, testing. Oh, like as in school tests. We're all thinking of COVID testing.
Oh, you're thinking like
He's like
testing.
school testing,
No,
like
I'm
smarter
not.
balance testing.
The
We'll
COVID.
do that.
Yep.
Yeah.
They haven't decided on that.
No, there's been very little conversation. The question has been posed by superintendents and principals and guidance counselors, what are we gonna do with the smarter balance assessment? And there's not been any decision made on that.
I guess I would just throw it out there for discussion that I think we've got extremely intelligent people. They're not gonna all come on in and, play Ring Around the Rosie in the middle of come on in, come to your classroom, use your hand sanitizer and your wipes as you come in here, use your classroom, avoid, they might have one-on-one contact with individuals, such as a Craig and Amy or a Jim, but stay away from the large groups and just use the classroom and the building as it is. We have a very large footprint, a campus. I mean, we could have 35 other people in this building right now inside those classrooms with those doors shut, and we wouldn't know they're here. We have a nice facility. I'd say we take advantage of it, but we be flexible. And I think that I wouldn't be surprised if some teacher said, I'd rather be here 10 to 6, 9 to 3. And then once we get on a schedule, we might find that we actually have only 10 to 15 people in the building anyway at certain times. But I think that's, if we're going to be doing it long term, until we're told differently, I'd rather see us taking advantage of every resource we have. That's what I'll throw out for conversation.
I agree with that. I think we need to, if we're going to we have to try to challenge our students and keep the learning going. We can't leave these kids behind. I wondered about, is there any way we could set up some sort of a mentorship program where, little Johnny's at home and the parents are working, and is there a way that there's some older students that could possibly help, go to the home and help the younger students engage and get their work done?
One of the issues you're gonna run into is when you're crisscrossing people. One of the larger crowds that I'm concerned about is our middle school and our high school students. Not being in a school, there were a couple that were out on the front step this morning. If I see them tomorrow morning, I'm contacting their parents and saying, you really shouldn't have your students up at the school. I'm not gonna want the image that it's okay to be hanging around the school when we've got this virus situation. We don't want students actually playing on the playground probably during this situation. I know that's really limiting life, but you just have to use some common sense with it.
You don't want to be the front page of the sports section, Aberdeen Christian, 7 kids getting together to prepare for the state basketball tournament?
And so I like
that
that
out there.
idea, Joel, but the only thing is we're probably okay with that until we start to see some confirmed
Sure.
cases. And the question is who's going to be willing to go into another house? There was a lot of conversation on the superintendent's conference call yesterday regarding special needs students that need to have one-on-one and whether or not they could come in. And really the majority of the conversation was, those that have severe needs could come in. But as the conversation went on, everybody's got this scenario, that scenario, and it just got worse as the discussion went on. And finally, Dr. Jones, the Secretary of Ed, said, I really don't think it's a good idea for us to go down this road, because if we have an exception for this one, it's going to lead to that one, and before you know it, you might have 15 kids in your building, and we've really negated the whole process here.
They're really trying to limit contact.
I don't think we should have, I think it should be clear. We don't want kids coming in the building. That's not what we're doing. And as to staff, make it very clear here. We want you to come to the building, but use your common sense. No different than what the courthouses are requiring, the hospitals are requiring, all the other employers that are still having people come to work but trying to limit contact. It is amazing how I've been in Watertown on Monday, Britain yesterday, and Aberdeen today. Every place is picking up on it differently, maintaining the seating different. Even in a courtroom, you've got now defendants sitting 18 feet apart. Families that are there to argue all of a sudden have to sit a little closer together than they want, maybe just the way the seating works out. I think that we can have them come here and use some common sense and set the standard along those lines. That's, I think, the first guidance we have to get. Either we want the staff here or do we want them staying at home until this is over with. That's where I'm at. Joel, Marty, Jamie, Larry.
I think we want them here. I think we want.
Yeah, I'm with you. As far as, to be here, to be available, and we have the technology here with the different things they can use, and I agree.
The other aspect of that is, if some of this stuff is new for our staff, the distance learning stuff, so they have a resource to bounce it off of if they get stuck with something and needs, there are other teachers around, and you can go to another teacher and say, hey, can I get a little help with this? Not that you want to hang out all day, but there's somebody there to help you out if you're stuck.
And I want to be very flexible on this. A couple things. I think that the hours should be, every staff member has the ability to get into their classroom, correct?
Yes.
So, if Craig Case says, I'm going to be here from 6 to noon. That's what, Teacher Case says he's going to do. I think half these high school students are doing their homework at 9:30, 10 o'clock at night. If there's another teacher that Joe Blow says, I'm going to be here from 5 to 11, I think we have the flexibility, just as long as they're putting in those 6 hours, get the schedule to Jim, Amy, and Craig, we're fine with that, and that'll actually also give us a little bit of distancing. The other thing I would throw out there is, I think, go ahead, Amy, you were going to correct me?
I just want to clarify, so like if a kid in Mrs. Lesner's class has a question,
Mhm.
but Mrs. Luenga is here at that building, you want them contacting Mrs. Luenga? through
No,
her? That seems muddy.
No, so you've mentioned that earlier, some of the kids, their parents, they're not going to be there from 9 to 3. And so they might not be able to ask a question until 7 o'clock at night when they get off of work from wherever they're at. Well, if this does go on for a long period of time, I think that is difficult for those type of parents to get that question answered. It would be better for them to be able to at least try to ask a staff member, if we knew we could publish when our staff members were, out on the Bearcat TV, out on the Facebook, all of our websites, these are when the staff members are here. That parent could be at home and say, well, at least I know there's one teacher in the school at 7 o'clock. I can ask them, if they can't help me with the question, maybe they can at least get the message or help relay it in a better fashion so it gets back to my kid. I'm not saying it's going to be a perfect answer. I'm not saying that all of a sudden Adam Mines is going to be teaching advanced trigonometry, but it would be better than nothing. Because you threw out the question, if they can't talk during the hours of 9 to 3 and we're expecting these parents and students to do that.
I think our teachers are flexible in that way. I'm just thinking about the logistics of this. So they call the school, so then we have to have somebody in the office to answer the phone because there's not phones in the classroom. And so like Mrs. Lesnar her class doesn't have the contact to contact Mrs. Knudsen's information. And so just logistically, we have to figure out those pieces of the puzzle.
I want to be clear. I'm not requiring it. I was just saying it was an option. I just know that. And I was just trying to say, instead of having everybody here from 9 to 3, because I've heard that there's an issue with, daycare and people wanting to have some flexibility. Why don't we give them the flexibility? Instead of everybody being here 9 to 3, maybe there's some bonuses because somebody said, can I come in from 3 to 9? Because then I can stay at home with my kids or I can be there. If we want everybody here at 9 to 3, good with that too. I was just trying to come up with other things that we're going to help out over the next 5 to 6 weeks. I don't know if it'll work.
I'm definitely not arguing flexibility. I'm just thinking about
The logistics of it, I get that, yeah. So what is a parent going to do when they call the school? Are we going to have somebody at the phone from 9 in the morning till 9 o'clock at night? Because then they're going to have to go down the hallway and find Mrs. Lesnar at the elementary building and say, come up here, Joel Shoemaker's got a question for you. I think that's what you're getting at.
Yes.
Well, first of all, do they have to walk or can they buzz?
We don't have phones in the classrooms.
Well, I think a lot of the staff have been using cell phones and then through email also.
And is there a way we can just tell them to contact that time? That's what I was saying, just publish the list and there's their email address. If you have a question, ask them, and if you can't.
I can't imagine any teacher that, if somebody has a question, and if it's 7, 8 o'clock at night, I could be completely wrong, but I'd be shocked if any of the teachers say, hey, Skype me at 7 o'clock at night, 8 o'clock at night, 7 o'clock in the morning, whatever. I'm sure they will at some point. I just can't imagine any student in the 500 not being able to get a hold of one of the teachers, the one they need in that period of time. I can't imagine they won't be flexible enough.
And if a teacher wanted to do something like that, if it was coming up where it was continually, I can't get a hold of this teacher during this time, and the teacher might say, well, I'll make myself available tonight through Skype from 7 to 8. It might be something where they send out an email to the parents and saying, hey, I'll be available Tuesday night from 8 to 9 to go over this or something like that. In those cases, maybe.
So I was just throwing out as an idea.
Yep.
I want to be clear.
Yeah.
Doesn't.
And it very well might come up.
Yeah.
But the
Flexibility
elementary
with
is
it.
going to be totally different.
It is.
Do we know where the elementary students are? Are they at daycare? Are they with grandparents? Are they with parents? Are they in groups?
We can't know that. You still have to, that's the point.
They're not
we can
gonna
only.
They're not going to be available for
the 9 to 3.
elementary for
Maybe.
most of those hours if they're at a sitter or.
So let's just get back to the key question. So we just knock out number 1. Do we want staff in the building for 6 hours, practicing social distancing, and performing their duties as assigned?
Elementary included?
Staff, yeah.
I say yes to all staff.
Well, let's start. Now I say with teachers, and then I was gonna say work down from there. I was talking with just teachers right now, administration. So Joel says yes.
Yes.
Marty says yes. Larry?
Yeah, I'll go along with it. I'm
Yes.
still a little on the elementary.
Jamie's a yes and Larry's a fence.
Yeah.
All right, he's a yes. Okay. So we'll have staff come in for 6 hours. Are we okay with them being flexible as long as they're working with Amy and Jim as to their times?
Yes.
Okay, everybody's good with that? All right. So
Just so it doesn't, and we also have to understand that it can't get carried away either. From a parent's perspective, if Tom's a teacher, he can't have a different time every day.
Sure.
So that I never know what time to get a hold of Tom. And I know this is a fluid situation, we gotta work our way through it, but we have to know, the teachers have to know that we.
Flexible but consistent?
Yes.
You're looking for?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Just a schedule.
Thank you.
Well, I
Or
think
if
the
they're gonna
teachers could
make a
probably
change,
post their
it.
schedule too.
Exactly, it's so easy,
Yeah.
I know not everybody does have the email or whatever, but it's, most people are checking, and so, yeah, if there is a change, we can, as long as they let us know, keep everybody in the loop on a change. So.
Yep.
And at the same time, I want to make clear, you did mention, I think we're all in agreement that if there are additional resources that we need to purchase because something has changed, whether it be technology, we need something different. I think that the administration and the staff needs to know they can come to us. We can definitely do something with our supplement to our capital outlay budget. I know that makes your day, Lori. But if there is something that we need, because it is going to make the learning process for those, I don't care what class it is, 3rd graders or 11th graders, easier, and you can have a compelling case for it, then we should get together and get that done and have a supplemental budget, because this is different. Nobody planned for this within any budgetary process, and we need to do it right.
Would we entertain that same thought process for students if they have a compelling argument and a need? I mean, I'm just asking, Tom.
Yeah, but then it's got.
Not everybody has the technology and the.
Yeah, we can't buy. I don't think we can purchase things for individuals.
But we're allowing them to take things home. I mean, so we are providing equipment.
And we might have to think outside of the box a little bit, is all I'm saying, and I'm thinking more at the elementary level. Maybe some people need certain tools.
Maybe we'll need another
Well,
Chromebook cart.
Oh, don't get Larry going.
See, that's our challenge at the elementary. How are we going to go ahead with the packets that have gone home with the exchange of homework? And how that's going to continue, you know what I mean?
Mhm.
If they're not doing what middle school and high school is doing with the computers and Chromebooks, so there's really no physical interactions where I gotta bring my homework in, here's your next set of homework. So that's the challenge, that's the question that the elementary staff would have, and myself. We've talked about the delivery system. Are we going to go ahead and have staff members go to the houses and deliver homework? Pick up homework?
I'll just throw this out. I would prefer, and I'm just throwing it out just to get the conversation started, I'd prefer we figured out a way so they can drop it off here. Instead of having staff or paras or going out to try to track down people and bang at doors and trying to get homework, I think there should be a way that we can accept it here. I think that a lot of other businesses right now are having to try to figure out the riddle of how to accept stuff back and forth.
So drop off.
A drop-off pickup.
Yep.
I think that's what we need to seriously consider how to do it.
Keep in mind, another challenge to that is working parents through the day that can't get it.
Can't we
Then
have
it'd have to
a,
be a drop off in the evening or after.
We'd have to have it so it can be dropped off both times.
Right.
well,
You'd
we're
have
gonna
to-
have these hourly staffers that are probably gonna want some hours. I mean, I think that can be arranged.
Right.
But we're looking.
I think.
We're looking, the bulk of it to be electronic.
Now, not at the
Not at the
elementary
grade
level.
school level.
It's a challenge at the,
It's gonna have to be
especially
dropped
the
off,
primary
yeah.
grades. Yeah. It's a challenge.
I mean, let me ask you this, Marty, I mean, let's just cut to the chase. Jamie already said kind of with the drop-off, pickup.
Pick up.
Marty, are you with delivery or are you with more drop-off,
I think
pickup?
drop off, pick up.
Joel?
Yes, drop off pickup.
Yeah.
Larry? Okay. Let's try to develop a system and understand we might have some kinks that have to be worked out. It might not go the most smoothly, but I think we should go with a drop-off, pickup system.
I'm just going to continue to play devil's advocate here, and I'm going to pick on Jen Witt that lives at the other end of the county.
Yeah.
Is there a way? Can we do specific things where we could email her the stuff and she could email back in so that she wouldn't have to physically drive to Webster? I mean, are we okay with that? If they have the means to email stuff back and forth, or
Are we paying the bus routes?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I have a
Send them.
question.
yeah.
No, that's, we can fix that.
With Cheyenne, does the bus route,
Go one day?
are we obligated to that contract, pay for mileage, whether they drive or not?
Yes. We
Can we
did
use-
review the contract, and the contract says that we,
So we're paying for the bus route today.
yeah.
can we utilize them
It's a very good point.
Well, I think out of country, we absolutely can.
to go, I mean, they know every house. We can actually deliver, and of
Kids
course,
who
then you
walk
got
up
that transfer again.
Drop their
but-
homework off and send the new ones with it. Again, if we're paying for it, and I mean, if it's once a week to send the homework ahead,
Yeah.
why not make them run?
Maybe not daily, but they wouldn't have to take the bus.
No, no.
either.
They could go Monday and go Friday.
Absolutely.
Now, right now, we just pay a base rate, though. Would we have additional expense because of the miles and the,
We pay for X amount of miles per day, so.
and we also pay, though, for the, I'm forgetting the phrase, part of the contract,
Oh, the fuel clause?
fuel surcharge.
Oh, we should be getting money back. Let's run them buses. Right?
Well, we shouldn't.
Yeah.
We absolutely should be.
Gas is $2, we can't go anywhere.
And technically, he would not have to run buses, he could run other vehicles.
Yeah.
That's his choice.
That's his.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Decision. One of the things that is probably going to come up is this transfer of items. There are some schools that are saying that they're having a drop-off, and I don't know who's spraying the items, but somebody's gonna spray the items and let it sit for 24 hours before the teachers can go get it. We're gonna hit that point eventually.
Well, then do it.
Is there a decon that,
Right? Why not do it?
Mhm.
you know, we send 2 bus drivers,
Well,
not one. but
so
2.
do we need,
One question that I would have is, how big of an issue is this with number of students? Because I do believe that the majority of the parents that could take photos and email them,
Right.
our teachers can just print
Should be
those out if they
majority.
want to correct a hard copy.
I-
To me, I would hope that like 80% of the parents have that ability.
The-
And so then how many are we talking about?
You're gonna have some that would rather. I don't want anyone coming into my house.
Yeah.
Please let me email it to you.
I'd rather have it where right now they're sending it to us as much as they can. Secondary, pickup, drop off. Third, before we start sending people out and taking on the responsibility of finding, you know, Mr. Lewinga at home that day to pick up his homework for little Johnny and he's not at home, et cetera, et cetera. Let's not hit that point until we find out that we have a problem with the first 2 options.
But now we have 3 options, Tom. I mean, we've just laid out 3
Right,
solid
but that's the
options.
third option, but let's not move forward with that, Craig, until we find that we have a major problem where 1 and 2 cannot be solving 95%.
Craig, is the elementary right now, they're good through next week? Is that correct with homework out
I
This
think
week.
most of them.
2 weeks
For
ago.
this week.
Through Friday?
this week, not next
Probably,
week?
Right. I doubt next week.
And that's all fine with, like you said, with the different options. I like all 3 of them in that order, whatever. But as far as the elementary kids, what we're saying is though, are they physically gonna have to have new worksheets or new homework sent to them other than just, I mean, we can send them the hard copy, but then I get the getting it back as far as taking a picture and showing it to the teacher and all that. But as far as getting them what they need to do for the week, will that have to be a hard copy presented to them?
For some, yes, yeah, getting them a hard copy.
But not
We
the
do.
ones with internet access, you think we can email or get them a vast majority of the elementary now?
Well, it's still gonna be challenged, because a lot of it, especially when you're doing kindergarten, first, second, a lot of it is the hard copy option.
That's
They're
what I
not-
was,
Yeah, they're not.
You gotta have a
doing it on
printer and
computer.
access to that stuff.
But can't we scan and email the worksheets?
Scan and email, but then, do they have printers at home?
A lot of
Can they
people
do
don't.
it on the computer? Probably not. I'm guessing it's going to be a challenge, just because all of them won't have printers.
Well, so let's just do this right now because it is gonna be something evolving and at least we can keep moving. Right now, we're gonna go with, get the message out there electronically as much as possible. Try to get as much of it returned as possible. See what the staff says. I mean, maybe they can narrow it down that it's, you know, only 10% of their class. And a lot of them are still coming through town and they can pick it up. We can create a pickup point. Because the other thing we gotta remember is, just if we go out to pick it up or drop it off, who says their parents are necessarily home at those times? It's starting to arrange these times. That could get to be difficult. It's just better if we can see how major of an issue it is and see if we can utilize electronic drop-off pickup as much as possible. Delivering is the last one that we don't want to do as much as possible. Are we okay, Craig, then moving on to next thing to,
Yeah, it'll be a challenge and conversations with the teachers to see how we'll make it work.
Craig, how much stuff is out there for the primary grades, for digital instruction, stuff that's on? I would assume that that's probably almost non-existent, huh?
To my knowledge, not a lot.
Okay.
There's a lot of resources, like how to correct them without, there's things they can do, but then if they're not, how do they get them back? if
The
they're not
feedback, yeah.
resourced?
Right.
okay. Next, let's go to our hourly employees. We've got kitchen, custodial, office, and our paraprofessionals.
Which also includes our nurse.
Okay? Open that up for conversation as to how we want to handle those situations.
Their pay is in the budget, correct?
Correct. I'll just throw out for conversation starters. I think we can do the right thing. I mean, I think we can ask our paraprofessionals, our hourly, our custodial, our office folks to use them as needed. For example, somebody's calling, they got to run down, maybe they're helping us with a drop-off, drop-box. I think that it was a good idea that we did do a deep cleaning, even if it, how many people we have here, it's just good to have a good cleaning of the facility. I think we should do our absolute best to maximize their use, but at the same time too, I guess I'm of the opinion, we budgeted for staff, we're gonna pay staff, even if we don't, I'll say it, if we don't come back to school, staff gets paid and we're not gonna be going to school in June and July unless the governor tells us to. When it comes to our hourly folks, I think they count on these paychecks. I think we need to do the right thing and say, at least for this year, our budget has it already in place. We get them paid and take care of it. Now, if there's something they can come in to do during that time, let's take advantage of it also, but that's where I'm at.
Do you want them coming in as well with similar hours? Because a good part, like our paras on the secondary end, they basically are tutors for our special ed students. And quite frankly, if they're willing to and they're able to communicate with the kids, they could do that. Are we wanting them in the building, adding that? If we bring everybody into the building, from teachers on down to the custodians, we're up to 70 plus people in the building.
We're gonna have to be careful though, even though we budgeted, and I agree with paying them, but if we extend it, and we're gonna pay it all of a sudden, a month down the road or whatever, the governor says, okay, we're gonna add a month to the school, then we're in a month where we didn't budget.
Fair?
I agree with that, and I think I agree that we should pay them, but rather than coming out and saying, we're gonna pay until the end of the school year, maybe we need to take it week by week or month by
Do we
month.
do a delay to start out? the first-
Till we know some of these answers from the governor.
I don't know what the answer is.
The question that I would have that just comes up now is, if we're gonna have our teachers continue to do the academics, and we're going to fill out that request or that form that says we are assuring that our kids are getting what they need, we want to count these as school days. If we don't pair up the teacher's schedule with the para schedule, calendar-wise even, you may run into some issues of they're going to get short-suited if they don't have enough days, or if you choose to pay them, they're going to get paid for not doing anything.
Well, right now, we do know this. The governor has not come out and said, you will be required to make up these 10 days. Matter of fact, the impression is, yeah.
You're right.
Correct. So I feel that, what we could do is pair them up at least with the days as we go forward. If for some reason we get to Thursday next week, whatever day it is, and the situation changes, Jim, we could have a short meeting at that point in time to determine how we go forward. Yeah, but otherwise we keep them paired until we hear different. Is that fair?
If they throw that recommend required.
I'm a little concerned I know there's no cases or anything like that yet, but if we're legitimately talking 60, 70 people in this building, I don't know that
I'd
that's
rather
a
have them at
good,
home probably.
I don't know that that's a good
Because
thing.
even at the government level, they're making those people work at home. They all have their own offices in their buildings, they're making them work at home.
I mean,
Is
realistically,
it worth the risk?
what's our kitchen staff gonna do?
They have cleaned that place spotless.
Right. It's done. We're not gonna be cooking the meals.
There is nothing for them to do here.
We shouldn't have them come
But you're right,
in.
if the days tie together with the professional staff and everything.
Could we do this, Jim? Could we tie the days together with the professional staff? If you need somebody to come in, it's on administration, I mean, with Jim, Amy, and Craig, you deciding, I need to have this person come in, see if they're willing to come in, but otherwise, if not, the general consensus is stay home.
Yeah.
Paras.
Paras.
Teachers come, paras stay home.
Yep.
Pair stay home,
Kitchen stay.
kitchen,
Kitchen,
Yep.
custodials as needed.
As needed.
Yeah, I mean, they can use their,
they could come in each morning and just
Absolutely.
check things over, see what's going, because literally the building is clean.
Well, if
And
we get-
then, same with the office.
Are there things that get done during the summer that never quite
I
get done?
was just gonna ask that.
Get done that maybe the custodial staff could start on, you know, things that could maybe be done during this time that don't get done during the summer?
I would guess so.
Because I know that summertime is, they're busy, busy, busy. And all the desks are out of all the rooms and they're waxing floors and they're doing all their stuff and.
But we're not gonna be able to do that at this time, because the things we don't get done maybe would be like painting or,
Well, that's what I'm saying. There's gonna be some things, are there some things that don't get done during the summer that, maybe there's a room that does need to be painted and we've got next week off. And if it extends out and it's 4 or 5 weeks long, are there some things that they could be doing that?
I agree, I was
When,
thinking the same thing.
Mostly things that brings people together.
Well, I think, Jim, I think we're all kind of given, does administration feel comfortable with where our guidance is on paras and hourly?
I believe we will.
As needed, hourly. I think, to me, hourly employees as needed at your discretion.
I don't know how you solve this, but I do believe you will have this question come up. My paras are staying home for the most part, and they're getting paid. Kitchen staff, staying home for the most part, get paid. We want custodians to come in, paint, do some things, they have to come in. Teachers, they have to come in. It's gonna happen. How do we address this?
The teachers have direct contact and direct guidance over the students. The hourly staff don't, in my opinion. The custodians and the office people, and that's my answer to
So we
it.
throw out the teachers, I still have that concern with
Yeah.
the hourly staff that doesn't need to be here, we're gonna pay them. The hourly staff that does need to be here or could be here and do some productive things, they're expected to work.
Yeah.
I've been a manager long enough to know that it's gonna come up.
Yeah, I say the answer is yes.
I agree with Joel. I mean, we're in different times.
Yeah.
You know, Jim Delaney one time says, Tom, it's good to be fair, but fair doesn't always have to be equal. You know, we try to do the best job we can. We're trying to do right by our employees, by the taxpayers, by the students. You know, these are big questions, and realistically, we might change some of these decisions a week from now if all of a
Absolutely.
sudden the circumstances change. We can just make our decisions with the best information we have at hand. And you know, the nice thing is, Jim, I also would say if somebody has an issue with it, you can also say it's above your pay grade because it was with us 5 that made that determination.
Oh, I have no problem justifying, just simply saying. thumbs
Yep,
up.
and you have to understand, we have to answer to the taxpayers. We all have somebody to answer to. At the end of the day, we just need to make sure we try to give our kids the best education we can in these unknown times. And it's gonna change. Things are gonna change day to day.
All right, Jim, do you feel comfortable with where we're at with on?
The only other issue that I have is, we do have staff members that have potential health concerns with respect to this virus. Are we gonna expect them to use sick leave if we aren't having them come in for the 6 hours? Are we gonna say, you know what, you've got an extenuating situation, we'll let you do your work from home if it's a teacher. The paras shouldn't be a big issue because we're not having them come in.
You know, Jim, I think that, in my opinion, we're not diving into each individual's specific health issues. You know, you have the discretion to make the right call there, I mean, as you see fit for each individual. If there's somebody that has special circumstances and you decide that that's in the best interest of that individual and our system to have them at home, they're good. If you think that they still can be here part of the time or whatever you fix up, we're good with that. Jamie, you okay with that?
Yeah, I know it's a tough spot.
It is very possible that even with a health concern, if they choose to come in when nobody else is here or there's
Right.
very, very few here, it could work. I just want to be prepared if that comes up.
You have discretion. I mean, you're okay with that, Marty?
Yes.
Joel?
Yes.
Larry? Okay.
Yep.
Jim, one thing I do want to touch on is I think that that point you brought up about document hours, tasks, and communication, I actually think that's pretty important. I think that we should be doing, you know, what we use in the military, the phrase after-action review. We should be doing 3 up, 3 down, things that worked good for us, things that didn't work good for us, because to be quite frank, Jim, I think we should put together, by the time this is done, add for one of your things to do this summer, but we should have some type of report as to how we went about this, what worked well for us, what didn't work, what areas we could have improved on. You know, and it would be nice to get the impression from the staff, you know, what works in first grade isn't necessarily going to be the 12th grade and vice versa. Because unfortunately, more and more of these things might become the new normal. And there might be a future board and future administration that would like to say, well, at least let's go back to what did they do in 2020 and start from there. I think that is important to do. And we will document our hours, tasks, and communications. That's just not a pencil whipping exercise. I mean, if we're going to put this out, we have that obligation, as you've said, Joel, to the students. Mark Hansen always said, you only get one free education. Make sure you take advantage of it. That's our obligation. All right, anything else we've missed tonight or anything that you need covered, Jim?
I don't think so.
I have one thing, just because I think of this earlier. Dual credit has come up a lot to me, and just, I'm confident that those kids are probably in the best position, because they are continuing. I know the technical college, the Board of Regents and DOE had a meeting today to lay out maybe some extra precautions to catch those kids in a net, but I'm confident that that's all been taken care of, and the regents have been really proactive at making sure that those kids have what they need. But because they're all online for us anyway, I'm comfortable that we're okay there.
Probably the only thing that may come up is the assessments, because they usually will take tests here and not all.
That's been taken care of.
Okay, that's taken care of.
The proctoring has been wiped.
All right.
Greg, you feel good?
Yep, it'll be a challenge going ahead.
It's gonna be.
Communicating with all the teachers, especially in the elementary, to make it work, so.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's gonna be harder for them.
Laura, you okay with everything from financial, anything else we have to talk about?
I don't believe so. I think we're good.
Okay. All right, with that, anything else from the board?
In the activities, are we changing board scheduled meetings coming up?
I thought I would leave this room set up like this for our next board meeting.
Let's,
Perhaps we may have to do it 100%
Yeah, when
is that?
virtual
So
via
right now I was
Skype
gonna
or something.
leave our regularly scheduled board meetings as we last left them until we get more guidance, because I think our next board meeting,
April 1.
was it April 1?
April 1st was
Yep.
just the board for negotiations.
Is that regular time?
So there's now,
5:30, just with us.
Yep.
April 7th, we were supposed to meet with staff at 5:30.
And then April
13
13 is our regular
scheduled
scheduled board meeting. So right now, let's leave those scheduled and let's see what happens here a week out. We'll make sure we get the message out to everybody else.
Lori, could you just shoot us an email with those dates and times?
You were in New
You gotta
Zealand.
check your email.
Right in
Read
here.
back.
I've got to do, but a reminder would be great, Laura.
Yeah.
Thank you.
She did.
Resend it.
All right. Anything else?
I would just like to add that, and I know it's been said many times, but because this is so new, I want everybody to try to be as patient as possible and understand that this is not going to go without flaws, and this is not going to go without people getting upset. So before you fire off and send out an email, and think and step back and put yourself in somebody else's shoes and say, all right, things aren't always as neat and clean as they should be, and things aren't always as smooth as they should be, but we got to be smart and patient with each other.
Marty, that's a great point. Good intentions all across the board. And I want to say very clearly, I was very impressed with what the administration has been keeping me in contact with all throughout last week. I thought your plan last Friday was really good. Governor decided an hour and a half later, not so much. That's her prerogative. But I think you guys have been doing good work. Appreciate the staff. I know my kids all came home and said that they were asking for the email addresses. I've seen a lot of good things out from the teachers already on, the email lists that I'm included on. So a lot of good things that are out there, and we'll get through this.
Is there one social media outlet that parents should be looking to find our plans moving forward?
The calling
The
system
calling
is our
system.
best bet. And all I can say is that we will update them if there are changes or new information that's valuable. I don't want to overuse the system.
Yep.
And so I don't know what we would place on the web page, but we could look at some resources that we could put there that might be summaries of the things that we're doing.
But just to be clear for everybody that's watching, I mean, if we're going to make a change, you're going to put a call out.
Yes, I will use
Okay.
the calling system whenever I need to. If there is something new that is new information we believe they need to know, or if there's a change in our current plans.
Okay.
And for smaller announcements, the Facebook page does tend to get a lot of traffic. So, even though the call hasn't gone out that there's not school next week, that has been posted on there just to reassure, because we had a little panic after the governor announced and the school hadn't yet. So when we do post, more information is coming on there, it does tend to calm the waters a little
Sure.
bit.
I will use the system tonight to inform the staff of the decisions made in this meeting. And then I will also, prior to Friday, send out a message to all parents stating that we do not have school next week. That may even go out tonight yet as well.
Okay. Thank you. Motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Thank you, Jamie. Second?
Second.
Second. Larry, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Hey, thanks, Mike.
Thank you, Mike.
Thank you, Mike.
40 people.
There you go.
So are we off, Mike?
Teachers.
Not yet.
Yeah, just wait.
Winning isn't everything, it's how you play the game that counts. If your values tell you the same, let's start a new conversation about money. At Thrivent Financial, we believe money is a tool, not a goal. Because it's not just about making more, it's about doing more. For your family, church, and community. Call Webster Thrivent Financial today at 605-345-3635.
Even simple tasks of everyday life can be overwhelming.